Greetings everyone. Hope you are all doing well in these difficult times. Let us start our Gita study with a Shanti Mantra, peace chant from the Vishwasara Tantra. This is on page 154 of this book, Universal Prayers. The bottom one. There are three, the last one on that page. The English translation is on page 155. Om Brahmanandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I bow down to the Guru, who is the embodiment of the bliss of Brahman, the giver of the greatest beatitude, the Absolute, the personification of the highest knowledge, who is beyond the pairs of opposites like pleasure and pain, and untouched by evil like the sky, whom thou art that and other similar scriptural passages have in view. The one without a second, the eternal, the pure, the immovable, the witness of all mental modifications, abiding ever beyond thoughts and attributes. My loving salutations, that Supreme Guru. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May there be peace and joy in our hearts. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings. May there be peace everywhere in nature. So we were studying chapter 5. We are approaching the end of this chapter 5. In this chapter, one of the very important verses of great practical significance, which can be applied in everyday life, day-to-day, moment by moment, conveyed the idea of same-sightedness, samadarshitva. That is, looking upon everyone and everything in the same way, seeing the divine presence in all. That was verse number 18 in chapter 5. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shunichaiva Shvapakecha Pandita Samadarshinaha. So that verse we studied. That is very important. We have to keep that in mind in our day-to-day dealings with other beings, other people, animals, plants, and even inanimate objects. Even in inanimate objects also the same divine consciousness is there, but it is not manifest clearly because of the inert nature of the inanimate objects. The same consciousness is there, all pervading. Like gold pervades the whole of the ornament, whole creation is pervaded by the same consciousness. In some places its presence is very clearly manifest, visible. In some places it is not so clearly visible, but it is there, same conscious, same divinity. So keeping that in mind, we have to treat everybody alike with love and compassion, but carefully. With wicked people and dangerous things, we have to stay away. From a distance, we have to recognize divinity. we should not get close to dangerous situations and wicked people. Otherwise, you have to show the same compassion, love, respect, consideration to everyone. That was 518. Very nice verse. Vidyavaniya sampanne brahmane gavihastini. There is an incident in the life of Swami Vivekananda which happened when he was traveling as a wandering monk all over India. Once he went to Rajasthan, and there was a small kingdom, Khetri. There was a Raja, king. That king invited Swamiji to stay in the palace. So Swamiji was the guest of the royal guest, staying in the palace. That king arranged a music concert, inviting a musician lady to come and sing in the court, and invited all the members of the royal court to attend the music concert. Swamiji was also invited. But Swamiji did not go to attend the music concert. He thought this singing lady who is singing, who is doing the music concert, is a singing lady. In those days, musicians of that type were not held in high esteem in society. Actors, actresses and musicians, they were not looked upon well in society. So Swamiji didn't want to attend. Why? I am a sannyasi, I am a monk. Why should I attend a music performance given by some musician? So he stayed back, he didn't go. That lady noticed the absence of the guest Swami, and she sang this very famous song. The song became very famous. Surdas was a great North Indian poet, a blind poet. He composed this song. Avaguna chitta nadharo samadarshi ho namatiharo. Like this, its song begins. Don't look upon my faults. You are, O Lord, addressing God. O Lord, you are known as Samadarshi, Samadarshin, same-sighted. God does not make any distinction between one person and another person. He is same-sighted towards all. He is present in the same way in all. So this song she sang, and Swamiji heard this song from his room, wherever he was staying. Then suddenly it occurred to him, why should I make a distinction that this is a singing lady, not held in high esteem in society, I am a sannyasi? This distinction is not proper, it is unbecoming of a sadhu. I should see the same divine in all. So he went and attended the music concert. And after the music performance, the lady came and bowed down to Swamiji, and he blessed her. So seeing the same divine in all, you have to be considerate, loving, respectful towards all beings, including inanimate objects, animals and plants. Even when dealing with inanimate objects like furniture, other things in the kitchen, we should not throw them. Keep them nicely in their assigned place after use. So that is Samadarshitva, very important shloka 518 in this chapter. This comes again in the next chapter, 6th verse. There, chapter number 6, shloka number 30, verse number 30. Lord Sri Krishna explains the basis for same-sightedness. That we should look upon everybody in the same way. He explains the base. The basis is, as I mentioned, the same divine presence in all. Chapter 6, verse number 30, Sri Krishna is going to say, Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mayi pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sachamena pranashyati. He who sees me in all and all in me, to him I am never lost, I am never out of sight of such a person. He is always with me, I am always with him. That is the basis for practicing same-sightedness. That's the important shloka. Another equally important virtue in this chapter, which we have to practice every day, and we get opportunity to practice every day in our life, is forbearance, equanimity in pain and pleasure, in good and bad, in praise and blame, in success and failure, in gain and loss. All these things happen every day. Life gives an unlimited number of opportunities for us to practice both these virtues, same-sightedness and equanimity, samadarshitva and titiksha, forbearance. So let us do verse number 23. Last time we did number 22, which describes the limitation of outside sense objects to give us happiness. Happiness is not intrinsic in sense objects, in food, in clothing, in money, in property, in other people, in children, grandchildren, name and fame. In these things, happiness is not intrinsic. The mind feels good when you have contact with them. Sometimes. It's nothing fixed about it. The same object gives pleasure at one time, same object gives pain at another time. We can see clearly in relationships. One person gives so much happiness at one time in our lives, and the same person after some time gives so much pain. This we know from experience. There is nothing fixed about it. There is no intrinsic happiness in outside things. But the mind is trying to find happiness there. It's futile. All happiness must come from within the self. Seeking happiness in the outside world, in outside objects, people, relationships and success, etc. is totally futile. You won't find it there. That was explained in verse number 22, 5:22. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkhayo naya evate adyantavantah kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. A wise person, Buddha, a wise person, does not take any delight, does not hanker for outside objects of happiness, does not seek happiness in outside objects. Where does he look for happiness? In the self within. That's where it can be found. That Ananda, infinite bliss, Sachidananda is within us, and we are that. Only we don't know that, we are not experiencing it. So that was verse number 22. Now we go to verse number 23. This is remaining calm under all circumstances, good and bad. Very important verse which has come earlier also in shloka number 38 in the second chapter. It will come here again, it will come later also. So verse number 23 in chapter 5. Shaknoti haiva yassodhum praksharira vimokshanat kamakrodhodbhavam vegam sayuktasya sukhi naraha. Very nice verse. 5:23. Shaknoti haiva yassodhum praksharira vimokshanat kamakrodhodbhavam vegam sayuktasya sukhi naraha. Yaha, that person who ihaiva, here in this life, yaha means here, then it's in this life, not in some future time, but right now, this moment, it has to make sense in our life. Vedanta has to make sense. Ihaiva yaha sodum shaknoti, is able to bear. Sodum is to bear, to tolerate, to accept, to bear. Sodum shaknoti is able to bear all kinds of experiences, good and bad, Now here, Prak Sharira Vimokshanat. Prak means before giving up the body. Sharira means body, Vimokshana means release. Before we die, not at the last moment of life. Gita says in the 8th chapter, we should be thinking about God in the last moment of our life. But we should not wait until the last moment comes. Then we don't know what we'll be thinking about. We should practice thinking about God from this moment onwards. You should not wait for the last moment when it comes, how it comes, where we will be, under what conditions, we have no idea when the last moment comes. Now is the critical moment, important moment. This moment I have to think about God. In the same way, this moment I have to be able to forbear all experiences in life, good and bad, pleasant, unpleasant. Shaknoti haiva sodam prakshaririva mokshanat, before the body falls. What we should bear? Kama krododbhavam vegam sayukta sasukhi naraha. Vega means kama krodha. Lust and anger come with great force, like a hurricane in our minds. It will rob us of our sense of propriety, what is right, what is wrong, all those things will be forgotten. That we saw in the 2nd chapter, sloka verse number 60 to 63. When the desire arises, people will lose the ability to think clearly. Is it good desire, bad desire, should I fulfill it or not? Just jump and fulfill the desire impulsively. Then we regret, why did I do that one? Same thing when anger comes, it robs us of our sanity. We don't know what is right, what we do and say things which we would not have done ordinarily when we are angry. Later only to regret later, too late. So Vegam means that onslaught of Kama Krodha, the onslaught of desire and anger. If a person can withstand that onslaught of lust and anger, right here, this moment in this life, such a person is a happy person. Saha yuktaha, saha sukhi naraha, saha naraha. That person is a yogi, yuktaha, and he is sukhi, he is a happy person. If he cannot bear the vicissitudes of life calmly, then will always be suffering, because something or other will come. For the time being, everything may be all right, we may be happy, comfortable, nothing may be bothering us, but next moment what happens, we don't know, something will go wrong. The test is then, how do I deal with that change? Can I remain calm? That is the question. And that must be practiced this moment. Ihaiva, even here in this life. Prak Sharira Vimokshanat, before the last moment when the body falls. We can't wait until that moment. Now we should do. All spiritual practice should be done with a sense of urgency. We should not say, tomorrow I will do, today I am busy. We should not say, because tomorrow, we will be here or not, what will happen, how will be, we have no idea. Next moment what happens, life is so uncertain these days. So no postponement. With a sense of urgency, we have to practice these virtues here and now. So forbearance. The sense here is that there is no room for complacency till one dies, Shankara says. Lust is the craving of greed for what occasions pleasure. That is, any loved object of the senses, sense objects, previously experienced. When it is heard about, remembered, we feel good. Remember good experiences we had, good food we ate, good company we had, good pleasure we had, and we wish it were like that. If this moment it is not. So dwelling on the past pleasurable experiences, that is not good. This moment should not be wasted in thinking about the past, about which nothing can be done. Past is past. Lot of time is wasted by many of us in thinking about the past, rearranging the past. I wish I had said like this, I wish I had done like that. Those thoughts will come. They are totally useless and they take away the precious time we have. We have limited time in this life. We can't spend the present moment thinking about the past about which nothing can be done. So that is not good. And anger also, anger is the aversion felt for things causing pain and obstructing one's interests. When something does not go as we expect, then we become angry. Somebody you expect them to behave in a certain way, they behave in a different way, making us angry. Something goes wrong in the workplace or in the family, which happens very often, then we become angry when expectations are not met. It is then we have to exercise control of our reaction. Something wrong has happened, and we should not compound it by reacting to it in a wrong way. Our reaction must be sound, making it better, making the situation better, not making the situation worse. Anger makes the situation worse. The urge born of these two, kama, krodha, lust and anger, is referred to here. The lust-born urge is marked by horripilation, beaming eyes and face, etc. So the practice of same-sightedness, equanimity in pain and pleasure. Second chapter, Shloka 38, also Sri Krishna said this. Sukha dukkhe same kritva labha labhau jaya jayau tato yuddhaya yujjasva naivam papa mamapsasi sukha dukkhe same kritva. Sukha dukkha, happiness and happiness. Same kritva, treating them equally. When happiness comes, we should not exult too much and assume it will be there like that always. When unhappiness comes, we should not become dejected too much. It's remaining calm. Good comes, bad comes, good goes, bad goes. Nothing is permanent. That is a very important virtue. Otherwise, we'll be blown every which way because things happen so unexpectedly in life. So we should remain stable and calm. Let life bring whatever it brings. I'm going to deal with it, do what is required to be done. This is what Swamiji wrote in the famous Song of Sannyasin. Heed then no more how body lives or goes, its task is done. Let karma float it down. Let one put garlands on, another kick this frame, say not. No praise or blame can be, where praiser praised and blamer blamed are one. Thus be thou calm, Sannyasin bold, say Om Tat Sat Om. Somebody praises you, somebody blames you. One put garlands on, another kicked this frame. Sri Ramakrishna was actually kicked by a jealous priest. He didn't complain. Taking everything in stride. But you have to be careful in applying this one. Some place, workplace or family, if you are practicing forbearance, people will take advantage of our goodness. They think we are weak. They keep on pushing the boundary, pushing you to the wall. So then we should stand up and be firm. No, I'm not going to let you do that to me. Without anger, without hatred, I should stand up for what is right. This is how it should be. You cannot do that to me. Like that. We should be firm and strong and assertive, but not hateful or aggressive. So Sri Ramakrishna said in the parable, hiss but not bite. He told the brahmachari told the snake, you all have read the parable, I am sure, in the gospel. The brahmachari told the snake, if village children come and throw stones at you, you should hiss and frighten them, but not bite them. If you don't hiss, if you don't show any resistance, they will take advantage and they will kill you. So we should be like that. No anger, no hatred, but firmness. take our firm stand, this is my position. Like that. So that is practice of equanimity in pain and pleasure. This will come in many places, again in the Gita, in other scriptures too. Now, the next three, 4 slokas, they describe the qualities of a yogi or a devotee. Any person may be practicing karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga or devotion, whatever. A person who looks for happiness where it can be found is a wise person. He finds happiness. Everybody is looking for happiness, but very few people look for it in the right place where it can be found. More people look for it in the wrong place where it cannot be found. So that is explained in verse number 24, 25, etc. Let us do verse number 24. Yontas sukhontara ramastathantarjyotirevayah sayogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhutodhigacchati yaha antas sukha yo antas sukha antararamaha तथा अंतर्ज्योतिः एव सः योगी ब्रह्मनिर्वाणं ब्रह्मभूतः अधिगच्छति. A yogi who finds happiness in the self within. It's the only place where it can be found, not in the world outside. Antas sukha means a person who looks for happiness, joy in the self within. Anta means inside, deep within us. Atmani sukham yasya sa antas sukha, the self within, in the Atman within. Such a person only can find happiness and be happy. Antas sukha antararamaha. Antararamaha means ramanam aramaha aramanam krida yasya sa. One who finds joy within, sporting joy within, in the self, and not joy in the outside activities, all this watching the sports and movies, entertainment, all those things. We find happiness, joy in them, in food and clothing, in relationships, and like those don't give us lasting happiness. Highly conditional, highly fleeting. That we saw in 522. A yogi, a wise person, looks for happiness in the self within, where only it can be found there. That is what this verse number 24 says. Antas sukhontara tata antarjyotihi. Jyoti means light, whose light knowledge comes from within. The true light is within. What happens when the sun sets? Darkness prevails. Then we have to use moonlight. Supposing moonlight is also not there, new moon. Then what happens? We have light, turn on the electric light or a kerosene lamp for light. That also goes away. Then what happens? Sound. From the sound we can see who is where. It is said that Arjuna could shoot arrows infallibly depending on the sound from where the object, depending upon this direction from which the sound was coming from the object, without seeing the object, in darkness also. Shabda bhedi bana. That is very rare skill. Even that sound is also not available sometimes. Then what happens? Where does the light come from? Light comes within the mind, from the self. Self is the source of all light. Atman, the presence of God within. Self means presence of God within in our terminology. The divine presence within us is the source of all light, all illumination, all knowledge. So a person who looks for light within, antas sukha one who finds happiness in the self within, inside. Antararamaha, one who sports inside joyfully. Tatha antarjyotihi, one who finds light within. Saha yogi, such a yogi, Brahma Nirvanam adhigacchati. Brahma Nirvanam means Brahmani Nivrittihi Moksham. Moksha. Shankara says Brahma Nirvana means liberation. Moksha. He will find liberation from the cycle of birth and death, transmigration, so from all suffering, liberation from all suffering. He will find such a person who looks for self-happiness within, he finds. How does he find that one? Brahma Bhutaha. He becomes one with Brahman. In the Upanishad it says, Brahmavid Brahmaiva Bhavati. A person who knows Brahman becomes one with Brahman. Like a drop of water becoming one with the ocean. It does not remain as a limited drop anymore. Once it jumps into the ocean, becomes the ocean. So the Jivatman, the individual self, which we think I am a separate person, I am this, I am that, I am happy, unhappy, I am a this and that ignorance will go away and I become one with the divine, only divine remains. Brahma Bhuta. Such a person achieves liberation. Brahma Nirvanam adhigacchati. So again, this idea is not a new one. It came before, in the 2nd chapter, in the 5th chapter also it came. For the first time, Sri Krishna says in the 2nd chapter to Arjuna that a Sthita Prajna, a sage of steady wisdom, is one who looks for happiness inside, not in the outside objects. In the 2nd chapter, verse 54, Arjuna asked the question, what are the signs of a Sthita Prajna, a sage of steady wisdom? In response to that Arjuna's question in 254, Sri Krishna gives a long answer. Verse number 255, 2nd chapter, verse 55 to end of 72, end of chapter. There, one of the first things Sri Krishna says about the qualities of a sage of steady wisdom is one who looks for happiness within. Atmanyevatmana tushtaha sthita prajnastadochate. Chapter 2, verse 55. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogatan. When a person gives up all desire for outside sense objects, happiness from outside sense objects, and looks for happiness in the self within. Atmani eva atmana tushtaha tada sthita prajna iti uchyate. So that has come. We have to look for happiness inside. Comes again, the important topic recurring in many places in the Gita. We have to look for happiness. Second place it came also just a few verses ago in a 5th chapter. Chapter 5, sloka number 21, which we read last time. There, Sri Krishna says, a person who is unattached to sense objects outside and who looks for bliss, happiness inside, he experiences inexhaustible bliss. 521, same topic. There Sri Krishna says, Bhashyasparsheshvasaktatma vindatyatmani yat sukham sabrahma yoga yuktatma sukhamakshayyamashnute. Bhashyasparsha means outside sense objects. Other people, animals and plants and sports and entertainment and money and property, children and grandchildren, success, position, power, fame, all these things are outside things. That's where people look for happiness generally. We know that that is not the right place to look for happiness. Such a person who does not look for happiness in outside objects, Bhashyasparsheshu asaktatma, one is not interested in outside objects as sources of happiness. Yatsukam atmani vindati. that infinite joy that he finds within the self, such a person, Brahma Yoga Yuktatma, such a person united with Brahman refers to one who concentrates on Brahman, self within. Such a person, Akshayam Sukham Ashnute, experiences infinite joy, ananda, true happiness, bliss, not worldly happiness. So that came in 521. Same thing in 524. Now we go to 525. Same topic. Labante Brahma Nirvanam Rishaya Kshina Kalmashaha Chinnadvaidayatatmanaha Sarvabhuta Hiterataha. Labante Brahma Nirvanam Rishaya Kshina Kalmashaha Chinnadvaidayatatmanaha Sarvabhuta Hiterataha. The term Brahma Nirvanam came in the previous verse, 24th verse also. Brahma Nirvana means liberation, moksha. So let us see verse 25. Rishayaha, Risha means sages. Only who have done spiritual practice all their life long. Sages, Rishayaha, Kshina Kalmashaha, who have purified, become free from all impurities. Kalmasha means impurities of the mind. We know them: lust, anger, greed, pride, jealousy, fear, anger, all these things. Only those who become free from such impurities by virtue of lifelong spiritual practice. Rishaya Kshina Kalmashaha Brahma Nirvanam Labante. They achieve liberation. Brahma Nirvana means liberation, moksha. Labante, they will achieve liberation by purifying the mind. All spiritual practices are meant only to purify the mind, make the mind free from all impurities in various ways. By doing karma yoga, by reasoning, by jnana yoga, whatever, we have to purify the mind, make it free from attachment, desire, anger, etc. Then next step is liberation. The ignorance that I am the body mind will go away, that I am the self, the knowledge will dawn. It is already there, we realize that one. So purification of the mind is the goal of all spiritual practices. Such people, Chinnadvaida means Chinna Samshayaha, those who have become free from all doubts. Doubts will linger for a long time, no matter how much we study. Still, sometimes doubt will come. Can all this be true? Like this. Whatever Sri Krishna says in the Gita, whatever we study in other Vedanta books, could this all be true? That doubt comes. Chinnadvaida means those who have become free from all doubts. Their mind is clear. Yes, this is the truth. That firm conviction has come. That what the scriptures say, Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, they say, and what the element teachers are saying, like Sri Ramakrishna, they are saying, that is all truth. That unwavering conviction must come. It will come, it will take some time, it will come. Such people who have become free from all doubts, Chinnadvaidhaha, Yatatmanaha, those who are striving with controlled mind. Mind control, mind and sense organs control have been emphasized throughout the Gita, beginning from 2nd chapter. The mind and sense organs have a natural tendency to go out and look for pleasure in the sense objects, that we know. That's their nature. But to bring them back and make the mind and sense organs dwell on the self within, that is where our effort is needed. Constantly telling the mind, no, that is not what I should be thinking now. Mind thinks about all kinds of things, good, bad, and very bad, very good, everything. No, this moment I want to think only about the self, only about God, not about all other things. They are material. That constant guiding, bringing the mind back from its preoccupation with the outside world, that is where self-effort is needed every moment. Such people, yatatmanaha, those who are striving to control with controlled mind. And one more quality, sarvabhuta hiterataha. They are interested in the well-being of all the beings, not in a selfish way. A spiritual aspirant must be totally unselfish, not just me alone. May good happen to everyone and everything in nature, even to inanimate objects, even to the river, water, earth, plants, trees, animals. May good happen. I am not alone. We are all interconnected. Spiritually, we are all one. But in a physical sense, we are separate. We all have separate bodies. But internally, if we go deeper into our nature, we all converge into one self. That picture we should have. That in the Gita, in the Kathopanishad and other scriptures, teachers are given the example of a tree, which is one, when you look at the trunk, and you go and stand in front of a tree, only one trunk is there. But you look out upwards, so many branches and sub-branches and twigs and leaves and flowers and fruits and bees and squirrels and butterflies are all there. So many different things you see if you look at the tree from the top side. If you look at the tree standing on the ground in front of the tree, if you stand, only one trunk is there. So creation is like that. If you look at the spiritual aspect of our existence, we are all one. Only one spirit is there, pervading all. But if you look at the bodies and minds, they are all different, all separate and different. Qualities are different. So, keeping that in mind, we should be interested in the well-being of everybody. If somebody else is hurt, that affects me also. I cannot be happy unless my neighbor is happy. If in my family somebody is suffering, how can I be happy? I am not suffering, but can I be happy if someone else is suffering? Same thing in the workplace. If somebody in the workplace loses his job, we all the co-workers feel bad. Everything affects everybody. So we are not alone in this world. We are all interconnected. Eventually we are all one, spiritually speaking. So keeping that in mind, we should be interested in the well-being of everybody. Sarva bhuta hiterataha. That comes in the 11th chapter also. Last verse, we'll come to it later. There Sri Krishna says, Nirvaira sarva bhuteshu. Vaira means hatred. Nirvaira means absence of hatred towards all beings. We should not hate any being, even if they are wicked people. Stay away from them, but no hatred. Nirvaira sarva bhuteshu, in the 11th chapter, last verse, 55th verse. And in the 12th chapter also, when Sri Krishna begins to describe the qualities of a devotee, one has pure devotion to God, the first thing Sri Krishna mentions is absence of hatred towards any being. Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitra karuna evacha. Sarvabhutanam adveshta, no hatred. Dvesha means hatred. No hatred towards any being, whoever they may be. Maitra, friendliness towards all. Karuna, compassion towards all. Those are the qualities of a spiritual seeker. We have to cultivate those qualities. So coming back to verse number 25. Kshina kalmashaha rishayaha. Sages who have become free from impurities, sins, by yatatmanaha, by virtue of lifelong spiritual practice. Brahma Nirvanam Lavante, they achieve liberation. And they are free from doubts. Chinnadvaidha Sarvabhuta Hiterataha, they are interested in the well-being of all the beings. No hatred, no dislike. You can stay away if their views are different, but no hatred. So these are the important virtues qualities. You have to practice all these things. See here, the important thing is this is not only theory. It's all things to be practiced in our daily life. Gita is a practical guide to life. There is philosophy in it also. The nature of Atman came in 2nd chapter. Later it will come in the 13th chapter. But what is more important is the very practical instructions that Sri Krishna gives throughout the Gita, instruction that we have to and we can put into practice in our daily life. That's how we make progress in spiritual life. Study is one thing, but seizing every opportunity life brings to put into practice these virtues of equanimity, forbearance, same-sightedness, etc. is very important. So very practical. Now let us do one more verse, 26 in chapter 5. Kama krodha viyuktanam yatinam yatachetasam abhito brahma nirvanam vartate viditatmanam. Kama krodha viyuktanam yatinam yatachetasam abhito brahma nirvanam vartate viditatmanam. The Brahma Nirvanam comes in 3 slokas. In the last 2 verses, 24, 25, 26 also, the word Brahma Nirvanam comes. Brahma Nirvanam means liberation, moksha, liberation. So, in the verse 26, Kama Krodha Viyuktanam, those who have become free from lust, desire and anger. These are 2 main things. Though there are 6 or 7 enemies mentioned, impurities mentioned in the scripture, in Gita and other scriptures, 2 main things are Kama Krodha. Third one is greed, of course. Kama Krodha Lobha. These are 3 gateways to hell. Sri Krishna says, he uses that expression. These 3 are gateways to hell. Kama Krodha Lobha. Lust, anger, greed. In chapter 16, verse 21. There are 3 gateways to hell, he says. These are Kama Krodha Lobha. Trividam narakasyedam dvaram nasanamatmanaha kamaha krodha tatha lobha tasmadetatrayam tyajit. These 3 things have to be given up with much effort. Kama Krodha Lobha, lust, anger, greed. Because they are gateways to suffering. Hell means suffering. That comes in 16th chapter, verse 21. Now here verse number 26 we are doing. Kama Krodha Viyuktanam, for those seekers who have become free from greed, lust, anger and greed. Yatinam, of those people who are trying hard to become free, who have become free from these impurities. Yatachetasam, who are practicing these virtues with controlled mind. Abhito, Abhita means from both sides. They'll explain both sides. Brahma Nirvanam vartate, they experience liberation. Such people are Viditatmanam, those who have known the self. Atman means self. Self means we can say God, God's presence inside us. God is present inside all of us. And then those who know God's presence, they are the sages. Viditatmanam. Viditatma means one who has known the presence of God within oneself and in other people. Of such people, Brahmanirvanam abhito vartate. They become free, released from lust and anger and have known the self. On both sides. Both sides means, in the commentary it says, on both sides, both when they are alive and after death. That means they experience peace and God realization, God's presence experience when they are alive in this body, not in a later future life. And also when you leave the body, they become one with the divine. From both sides, they realize God and become one with the divine. That is verse number 26. Now 27, 28, they are to be studied together because they form one sentence. We will chant these two verses and then we will study them next time. There are 3 more verses remaining in this chapter. 27, 28, 29. We will conclude this chapter next time and begin chapter 6, the most important chapter in the Gita, meditation, Dhyana Yoga. It will begin next week, God willing. So 27, 28 I shall chant. Sparshan kritva bahirbhakyan chakshuschaivantare bhruvo pranapanau samau kritva nasabhyancharacharinau yatendriya mano buddhihi munirmokshaparayanah yugatecha bhayakrodha yassada mukta eva saha. The last 4 words we take of this 28th verse. Sada saha mukta eva. Such a person with the qualities described earlier in these 2 verses, he will always be really eternally liberated. Mukta becomes liberated. Moksha means liberation. Mukti or moksha. A person who does all these things mentioned in the earlier lines becomes liberated forever. Sada saha mukta eva. So what has to be done to achieve liberation? One by one. Beginning of verse number 27. Sparshan kritva bahir bahyan. Bahyan sparshan bahi kritva. Keeping outside sense objects outside, not bringing them to the mind inside. Keeping our external contacts outside. So when you are sitting for meditation, we should not think about outside objects. You should think about the self. Keep the mind inside, where God's presence can be felt. If you think about outside objects, then we will not be meditating. We will be meditating on the world. What we meditate on, that we become. That will come to us. If you meditate on God, we become one with God. If you meditate on the world, then we become involved in the world. Another life, another life. So, Bahya sparshan, Bahih kritva, keeping the sense objects outside, not thinking about outside sense objects. Chakshuschaiva antare bhruvoho, keeping the mind between the eyebrows. Not in a literal sense, then the eyes begin to hurt. Not looking at anything in particular. This comes in 6th chapter also. If you look at some object, the mind will go there. If I look at the clock, I will think about the time. If I look at the cup, I will think about the tea or coffee or water. So whatever you look at, that thought will come to my mind. So I should not look at anything in particular, keeping the mind half closed or fully closed. Sometimes we try to meditate with eyes closed, but all kinds of thoughts will come, images will come, things you have seen before or we may see later. Then we have to do one thing. You have to keep the photo or picture or image of the chosen ideal, and we have to open our eyes and look at that. Then that thought will come. If you look at the picture of Holy Mother, we think of Holy Mother. If you look at the picture of some friend, we think of that friend. So what we should look at, that we want to think about. So that is why Sri Ramakrishna said in his teachings, a devotee should keep photos of holy people, gods and goddesses in their room, not photos of Queen Elizabeth, all those things. Those days the British were ruling India and people used to keep the British rulers' pictures in their homes. That's not necessary. You should keep the pictures of holy people and then you should keep the pictures of gods and goddesses. So if you look at those pictures, we'll think about gods and goddesses. So, chakshushaiva antaraiva means not looking at any particular object, looking at nothing, focusing the mind on the self within. Prana panau samau kritva. Prana means incoming breath, breathing in. Apana means outgoing breath. Samaya kritva, equalizing them. Breathing has to be regulated. There are very many different kinds of pranayamas, breathing control techniques, but those are a different topic. For health reasons, those are necessary. Some of them you have to practice under guidance. But generally, breathing has to be smooth and even and not heavy or rapid. Pranapanau samau kritva, making the incoming and outgoing breath equal. That means streamlining, breathing calmly in meditation. If the breathing becomes calm, mind also becomes calm. Breath and mind have the same source. Just like a rope hanging on a pulley. One end of the rope is breath, breathing, another end of the rope is mind. If you pull one, the other will also go up. If you control the mind, breathing becomes normal. If you breathe normally, mind becomes under control. You can start anywhere, but generally breathing is more under our control. So we start from the breathing. Streamlining our breath, breathing, mind will become control, will be under control. Prana pavana samakritva nasa bhyantara charinau. Breathing only through the nostrils, not through the mouth. These are simple instructions for meditation. Yatendriya mano buddhihi. Indriya means sense organs. Mana means mind. Buddhi means intellect. Yata means controlling all these things. Munihi moksha parayanaha. Intent on liberation. What is our intent? What's our purpose in life? That we have to be clear about that one. Moksha parayanaha. Vigatecha vayakrodaha. Becoming free from desire, fear, anger, etc. All of these things have come before, will come again. Sada mukta eva saha. Such a person is liberated, ever liberated. So we'll come back to these two verses. 3 more verses are remaining in this chapter. Then we'll try to finish it next time and begin chapter number 6. So let us close with our closing prayer. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Om, may all be happy. May all realize what is noble and auspicious. May no one be subject to misery. Om peace. May there be peace and joy in our hearts. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings. And may there be peace everywhere in nature. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Thank you all and stay well. See you next time.